welcome to Zen Buddhism Wisdom. Today, we are diving into one of the most profound and painful experiences in life: letting go of someone we love. Why does it feel impossible? Why does detachment, a core teaching of Buddhism, seem so distant when it comes to relationships? We invest our hearts, our time, and our deepest emotions into the people we love. We build a world around them, believing that their presence brings us wholeness. But what happens when that connection is severed? Is it true freedom? Or does it simply open the door to a different kind of suffering? Imagine standing by a river, watching the water flow effortlessly. The river does not cling to the rocks, nor does it resist the turns in its path. It simply moves forward. This is the essence of Zen, the art of releasing without resistance. But for us, as human beings, letting go is rarely so simple. Cutting someone off can feel like tearing a part of ourselves away, like trying to unwrite a story that has already shaped us. Today, we will explore the illusion of permanence in love, the emotional weight of attachment, and the true meaning of detachment through the lens of Zen wisdom. Does cutting someone off bring peace, or does it deepen our suffering? And more importantly, how can we navigate this process with mindfulness, compassion, and inner stillness? Are you ready to begin? Let's dive in. We are conditioned from birth to seek stability, to find comfort in the familiar. A child clings to a toy not just because they enjoy it, but because it represents safety, something they can control in an unpredictable world. As we grow older, this attachment does not disappear. It simply shifts form. Instead of toys, we hold on to relationships, beliefs, and identities. We tell ourselves that without them, we would be lost. But this illusion of permanence is precisely what Zen Buddhism seeks to unravel. The moment we accept something as ours, we unknowingly invite the fear of losing it. This is why love often turns into possession, why we struggle when a relationship ends, why we grieve not just the person but the version of ourselves that existed with them. We believe that to let go is to erase the love, to diminish its significance. But this is not true. The love we have given and received remains, regardless of presence or absence. Imagine standing at the edge of a river, watching the water flow. A leaf drifts past, carried by the current. You can reach out and grasp it, but in doing so, you stop its natural movement. And even if you hold onto it tightly, it will eventually wither. But if you simply observe, allowing it to pass, you experience the beauty of its presence without trying to possess it. This is the essence of non-attachment, not the absence of love, but the ability to love without clinging. Yet, the mind resists. It whispers that if we let go, we will be left empty, abandoned in a void of loss. It tells us that cutting someone off or releasing a long-held belief will strip us of our identity. But Zen teaches that true identity is not found in what we cling to. It is found in the awareness beneath the attachment. When we let go, we do not lose ourselves. We return to ourselves. A man once asked a Zen master, "Why do I suffer when I lose something I love?" The master pointed to a glass on the table and said, "To you, this glass is whole, but to me, it is already broken. I enjoy it, I drink from it, but I do not cling to it, for I know one day it will shatter." The moment you see the impermanence of all things, you will no longer suffer. This wisdom does not mean we should not cherish what we have. On the contrary, it teaches us to love more deeply, more more fully without the chains of expectation. It reminds us that everything we experience is a gift, but no gift is meant to be kept forever. So why does letting go feel impossible? Because we mistake attachment for love, permanence for security, possession for identity. The truth is, we are not losing anything, only the illusion that we ever owned it. The monk who carried the sack of rice did not lose sustenance when he let it go. He lost only the unnecessary burden of carrying it. Perhaps this is the lesson, that freedom is not found in holding on, but in knowing when to release. The tighter we grasp, the more we suffer, but the moment we surrender, we realize we were never truly empty. We were always whole. Zen Buddhism differentiates between love and attachment in the same way it differentiates between a bird soaring freely and a bird kept in a cage. Love is open, boundless, ever-changing, like the vast sky that allows the bird to explore without limits. Attachment, however, is like a clenched fist, desperately trying to hold onto something that was never meant to be grasped so tightly. It seeks to control, to define, to mold love into something static, when in reality, love is fluid, like water slipping through our fingers. The tighter we squeeze. Most relationships begin with effortless joy, with two souls coming together in the simplicity of being. In the beginning, we are present. We appreciate each shared moment for what it is, without the burden of expectation. But as time passes, we begin to unconsciously attach conditions. We no longer just enjoy the person. We start to expect them to be a certain way. They make me happy, we say, as if their existence is responsible for our emotions. Slowly, we shift from experiencing love to owning it. And the moment we believe we own love, we fear its loss. Possession breeds anxiety. We become terrified of change, of absence, of the natural ebb and flow that is inevitable in all things. Instead of allowing love to transform and evolve, we try to control it, to solidify it into something permanent. But love, by its very nature, is not meant to be held. It is meant to be given, received, and released, over and over again. This is why losing someone, whether by choice or by circumstance, feels so devastating. It is not just their absence that wounds us, it is the unraveling of an illusion. We must confront the truth that they were never ours to begin with. Love is not possession. Love is presence, and true presence exists even in absence. A Zen story tells of a master who was once asked, "How do you love without attachment?" The master smiled and pointed to the wind moving through the trees. "Do you see how the wind touches the leaves, making them dance? It does not try to keep them. It moves on, and yet its presence is felt long after it is gone." To love without attachment is to love like the wind, to embrace without clinging, to cherish without demanding, to allow another to be fully themselves without the need to control them. This is the delicate balance. To love deeply but not possessively, to hold someone in your heart without trying to hold them in your grasp. But how do we achieve this balance when everything within us resists it? How do we let go of the desperate need to possess? The answer is simple, yet difficult. We must recognize that love is not something external to acquire. It is something we cultivate within. When we understand that, we are already whole. That love is not something given to us by another, but something that flows through us. We stop grasping at it like a drowning person clinging to a raft. Instead, we become the source of love itself. Cutting someone off feels painful because it forces us to confront the illusion that love ever belonged to us in the first place. But if we look deeper, we realize that love has not disappeared. It has simply changed form. It remains in the lessons learned, in the quiet gratitude that lingers, in the way it shaped us, even as we move forward without them. This is the wisdom of Zen. Love is not about holding on. It is about opening our hands, opening our hearts, and trusting that even when something or someone is no longer physically present, the love we shared remains, not as possession, but as presence. There were once two souls, drawn to each other like twin stars in an infinite night sky, their energies entwined as if they had known each other long before this lifetime. Their love was effortless in the beginning, flowing like a river, unburdened by fear, untouched by expectation. Their presence in each other's lives felt natural, as if the universe itself had conspired to bring them together. They spoke in glances, understood each other in silence, and found comfort in a connection that needed no explanation. But time has a way of testing even the purest of bonds. Slowly, subtly, the currents shifted. What once felt weightless began to carry an invisible heaviness. Expectations crept in, as they always do, when human hearts grow attached. Disappointments followed, not because love had disappeared, but because the mind had begun weaving stories of how things should be. Where there was once openness, there was now the silent burden of unspoken needs. One of them perhaps the one who had loved more, or perhaps the one who had fought longer, felt it first, not in a moment of anger, not in the midst of a fight, but in the quiet moments in between, in the spaces where love once lived effortlessly. It was not a decision made out of resentment, nor out of indifference. It was born from something far more painful, the slow realization that love, when weighed down by suffering, is no longer love in its truest form. And so, one day, without dramatic goodbyes, without a storm of words, they let go, not with rage, not with cruelty, but with quiet exhaustion, the kind that seeps into the soul when one has carried something heavy for too long. There was no blame, no final plea for understanding, only a silent severing of the invisible thread that had bound them together. At first, there was relief, a lightness, as if a weight that had been pressing down for so long had finally been lifted. The absence felt strangely freeing, like stepping out into fresh air after being confined for too long. But then came the echo. Not the sharp pain of regret, nor the bitterness of loss, but something far more elusive, the presence of absence, the way the world remained unchanged, yet somehow everything felt different. The spaces where they once existed, still held their imprint, the ghost of a laughter shared, the quiet warmth of a memory that refused to fade. The hands no longer held, but the sensation of touch still lingered in the heart's memory. Zen Master Ryokon once wrote, "The thief left it behind the moon at my window." Love, too, leaves something behind. Even in separation, it lingers, not in possession, not in the physical presence of the person, but in the moments, the lessons, the shifts within us that remain long after they are gone. We tell ourselves that cutting someone off is a clean break, that once we close the door, the past will stay behind it. But love does not work that way. The heart does not simply forget, because the mind demands it to. The deeper the connection, the longer its echo reverberates. And yet, the lesson of Zen is this: just as we cannot hold onto love, we cannot hold onto its absence either. Just as we must allow love to flow freely when it is present, we must also allow it to dissolve naturally when it is gone. We do not heal by forcefully pushing away the memories, nor by drowning in them. We heal by allowing them to simply be, without attachment, without resistance. In the end, the silent separation was not an ending, but a transformation. Love did not die, it simply changed. Zen Master Ryokan once wrote, "The thief left it behind. The moon at my window." His words carry a quiet truth. What is truly meaningful is never stolen, never lost. It simply changes form, lingers in ways we do not expect, and stays with us even when we believe we have moved on. Love, too, follows this law. It does not simply vanish when someone leaves our life. It remains, not in possession, not in proximity, but as an imprint on the soul. There is an illusion that cutting someone off will silence their presence, that closing the door will erase the marks they have left upon us. But the mind does not work that way, nor does the heart. In the quiet hours, when the world stills and distractions fade, memories rise like mist, unbidden yet persistent. They do not return with the weight of conflict or the sharp edges of misunderstanding. Instead, they return as whispers of tenderness, fragments of moments that once felt like home. It is the sound of their laughter, effortlessly filling the spaces between words. It is the warmth of their hand resting gently on ours, a touch that once spoke of safety. It is the way they turned toward us in a crowded room, as if drawn by an invisible thread, making us feel like the only two people in existence. These are the echoes of love, and they arrive without warning. A familiar scent in the air, a song playing softly in the background, the way the afternoon light falls at just the right angle. Suddenly, we are transported, held captive by a past we thought we had left behind. And yet, here lies the paradox. The more we resist these echoes, the louder they become. The more we try to force them away, the deeper they root themselves within us. The mind, in its illusion of control, believes that by removing the person, it removes the pain. But suffering does not come from external circumstances, arises from within. We suffer not because of the presence of memories, but because of our resistance to them. A Zen parable tells of a man who, upon stepping into a river, tries to grasp the water in his hands. The tighter he holds, the faster it slips through his fingers. But when he simply allows his hands to rest in the stream, he feels the coolness, the movement, the life within it, without trying to possess it. Love is the same. When we try to hold on to it, it becomes suffering. When we try to push it away, it becomes longing. But when we allow it to be, without clinging, without aversion, it becomes peace. To remember is not to suffer. To feel the echoes of love is not a sign of weakness, nor is it a betrayal of our progress. It is simply a reminder that we have loved deeply, that we have been shaped by something beautiful. The key is not to force these echoes into silence, but to let them pass through us like the wind, felt, acknowledged, but not held on to. Zen teaches that nothing truly belongs to us, not even our memories. They come, they go, they shift and change, like clouds in the sky. To love without attachment is to allow the echoes letting them define us, to let them arise without chasing them, to let them fade without fearing their loss. And so, when the memories return, when the echo of love whispers through the corridors of the heart, there is no need to run. Let them come, let them stay for a moment, then let them go, like leaves carried gently by the river's flow. Zen teaches that suffering is not something to be eliminated but understood. It is not an enemy to be conquered, but a teacher to be embraced. Yet, when we are in pain, when the loss of someone feels unbearable, our first instinct is to take control, to sever ties, to create the illusion that we are the ones choosing the separation. We tell ourselves that, by cutting someone off, we are reclaiming our power, setting boundaries, and moving forward. But is this truly freedom, or is it simply another form of resistance? There is a story of a man who came to a Zen master, desperate to free himself from the pain of attachment. "How can I stop suffering?" he asked. The master handed him a cup of tea and said, "Hold this tightly." The man did, gripping the cup with all his strength. "Now let go," the master instructed. When the man released his grip, the cup fell to the ground and shattered. The master asked, "Did letting go hurt more than holding on?" At first glance, we believe that letting go means discarding, removing, or cutting away. But true letting go is not destruction. It is understanding. It is not about erasing someone from our lives, but about releasing the grasp we have on the need to control, on the need to dictate how things should be. Many people mistake control for freedom. We believe that if we remove a person from our lives, we remove the pain they caused. But pain is not tied to another person. It lives within us. The suffering does not end. When we push someone away, it simply takes another form. It hides beneath resentment, beneath avoidance, beneath the stories we tell ourselves about why they no longer belong in our world. We think we are letting go, but we are merely suppressing, pretending that absence equals healing. The paradox is that the harder we try to sever someone from our hearts, the more they linger in our minds. We cut them off, yet we still check their social media. We stop speaking to them, yet we replay old conversations. We tell ourselves we are over them, yet they appear in our dreams. Cutting someone off may give us a temporary sense of power, but true freedom does not come from control. It comes from surrender. Zen does not teach us to run away from pain. It does not teach us to deny or suppress. It teaches us to sit with what is, without grasping or rejecting. Imagine a leaf floating down a river. If we try to control it, we create resistance. If we try to push it away, we create more disturbance. But if we simply watch it flow, without interfering, it moves naturally, effortlessly, without struggle. True detachment is not about forcefully cutting ties. It is about allowing things to be as they are. It is about recognizing that we do not own people, that love does not mean possession, and that the natural flow of life includes both union and separation. It is about understanding that freedom is not in getting rid of something, but in no longer needing to grasp it. So when we ask, does cutting someone off truly free us? The answer is this: freedom does not come from erasing the past. It comes from making peace with it. It comes from loosening our grip, from allowing things to unfold without force, without expectation. It comes from knowing that love, like everything else, is impermanent, that this impermanence is not a loss, but a liberation. Pain is not the enemy, it is a teacher. And like all great teachers, it demands our full attention. It does not whisper, it demands to be heard. It does not wait for convenience. It arrives when we least expect it. And yet, most of us spend our lives resisting it, numbing it, or running from it, believing that its presence signifies failure. But Zen wisdom tells us otherwise. Pain is not a punishment, it is an awakening. When we let go of someone, we are given an opportunity that is often disguised as loss. At first, it feels unbearable, like an open wound that refuses to heal. But beneath the surface of that pain lies a hidden gift, the chance to look inward, to examine the attachments we held, and to understand what the relationship taught us. Instead of asking, "Why did they leave?" we should ask, "What did they teach me?" This shift in perspective transforms suffering into wisdom, turning endings into beginnings. Every person who enters our lives is a lesson, not a possession. Yet the mind, conditioned by attachment, resists this truth. It clings to familiarity, to comfort, to the illusion that we can hold on forever. We confuse love with ownership, believing that if we love someone, we must keep them close. But Zen teaches us that true love is spacious, not grasping. A Zen monk once said, "To love a flower is not to pluck it, but to let it grow freely." Love, in its purest form, does not bind, it liberates. Many mistake detachment for indifference, but true detachment is not about pushing people away or shutting down emotionally. It is about loving without clinging, about accepting impermanence without resistance. It is about realizing that just because someone is no longer physically present does not mean their impact has vanished. When we truly let go, we do not do so with bitterness. We do not cut someone off in anger, hoping to erase them from our minds. We let go with gratitude, with acceptance, and with peace. But the mind rebels against this. It wants certainty, control, permanence. It believes that love must always mean presence. It clings not just to the person, but to the identity we built around them. The idea that they completed us, that they defined a chapter of our story. The thought of moving forward without them feels like erasing a part of ourselves. When we cut someone off, do we find peace? Or does another storm arise? The answer depends not on the act itself, but on the mind's relationship to it. If we sever a connection in anger, hoping to force closure, we may find that the pain lingers, manifesting in different ways: regret, longing. But if we release with understanding, if we allow ourselves to grieve without resistance, we make space for something deeper, true acceptance. A monk once sat in meditation beside a river, watching the water flow. A passerby stopped and asked, "What are you doing?" The monk replied, "Learning from the river, ... What does it teach?" The man asked. The monk smiled and gestured toward the moving water, that everything moves on its own. The river does not chase the water that has passed. It does not hold on to what is leaving. It simply flows. Letting go is not about winning or losing, nor is it about proving strength or weakness. It is a path to self-discovery, a journey inward to understand the nature of our attachments and the illusions we create around love and possession. Cutting someone off may seem like an external act, but the true transformation happens within. If we sever ties out of anger or resentment, we remain trapped in suffering. But if we do it with mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom, it becomes an act of true liberation. Zen teaches us that love is not about clinging, it is about allowing. True freedom does not come from control, but from surrendering to the impermanence of all things. So, what truly happens when you cut someone off? The real question is, what happens when you free your heart from attachment? The answer to that holds the key to peace. This video has come to an end. What are your thoughts? Share your experiences in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Zen Buddhism Wisdom for more insightful videos on Zen philosophy, mindfulness, and spiritual growth. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you